All right. Presented by Prize Picks. Get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 and use the promo code Welcome to Light Years. Andy Liu, we got a special guest today. Very excited. Very excited to be able to do a podcast that is not a post-game one because the schedule has finally allowed us 2 days to breathe. Feels weird.
I've been waiting for this. Been waiting for this.
No, right?
I've been waiting for this. I asked you in the beginning, so I was like, dude, we gotta get this dude on. They brought him in to cover the Warriors. It's been great. I was like, dude, let's go. And then, Nick.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Covering the Warriors from The Athletic, Nick Friedell. Nick, what's it like to be back in the Bay Area covering the Warriors again?
It's awesome. I mean, guys, really, and I mean, no bullshit. It's really cool to be with y'all because I know what you guys have built through the years. Like, I've followed it from a distance. I've seen what y'all have done. So to make my first appearance on the podcast and be able to talk with you guys for a little while is cool. I feel like I finally got stamped in my second return being around this team. But the short version is this team is unique unto itself. And I feel like I've talked to both of you, but especially with Andy, I am not a big fan of the NBA regular season, especially in the last few years. I don't think the product is very good. I love the playoffs. I think the playoffs are still great, but the day-to-day, I just don't feel like as many people are into the same way as they were when I was growing up. I say that, though. The Warriors are a pure content machine. Every day, something goes on with this team. Every game, something is happening that is interesting. And so being back here and being around this group is great. But I think what's cool for me is being back in the Bay. I lived it the first time when I was covering them those first 3.5 years or so. But so many people are so interested in this team all the time. And that's just not the case in the amount of numbers and fan interest as there is
in Brooklyn. Brooklyn didn't do it for you. Well, actually, KD was. I mean, KD was there.
You certainly got controversy when you were there.
Yeah, that was an interesting experience. But the idea that the Brooklyn fan base and the Warriors fan base belong anywhere near each other in any stratosphere is not the case. It's really fun to be back around in a place where people care so much.
I feel like there's only like 3 or 4 of those in the NBA right now, which is kind of the overarching problem you're talking about. Like the Lakers always elicit that type of game in, day out interest. I would say maybe the Celtics, but not this year because Tatum's out. Like there's really only a handful of franchises that people actually get mad when they lose a game or, you know, as opposed to like the apathy you see in like a New Orleans or a Charlotte or honestly like 25 cities in the NBA. So
weren't you in New Orleans, Nick? I heard that was brutal. It didn't really show as much on TV, but you can kind of see like.
Whew. You mean the game, not the covering the podcast?
No. The arena.
And it was the worst atmosphere I've been in, and I couldn't tell you how long. And the fact that. And I was tweeting a little bit about this because it threw me in the moment. Every other arena in the NBA, and you guys have seen this, but anybody who hasn't been lucky enough to travel somewhere and seen the Steph show live and in person, you can drop him in any arena across the league that's not at Chase. And there are people always lined up in those lower levels. Oh, Steph's coming out. He's shooting. Oh, my gosh. There were like 2 people when he ran onto the floor like, hey, Steph. And you're just like, whoa, what is going on down here? So I think there are a lot of issues. But as far as the Steph test goes, New Orleans, they've got a lot of problems drawing interest, not only for that team, but for the league in general.
Yeah, we'll talk more about New Orleans later for selfish reasons, Sam. But I won't bring it up yet.
That one. Yeah, we'll save that one. Okay, so you're finally back in the Bay Area. It's funny. I'm like, hey, you finally moved back to the Bay, but they've been on the road the entire season so far. You were saying it before we got on air, but like, what's your overarching feeling about this team after what was a very bizarre and heavy scheduled start?
I think having gotten through it and gotten through the gauntlet that was that first like couple months, or at least a month and change, the fact that nobody is hurt and everybody is still kind of standing with a bunch of home games on the horizon, guys. I know that fans roll their eyes and they think, oh, they had a lot of road games and, oh, they had a lot of back-to-backs. I mean, I hear my own friends say, oh, they're staying in 5-star hotels or on a charter. I'm here to tell you, 20 years in, almost doing this job, being around different teams and following them year to year, I have never, ever seen a start to a season like this. And so while the Warriors certainly didn't get off to the start they wanted to, I think a lot of people expected them to. The schedule absolutely is a part of it because they were playing constantly and they were playing all over the place. I mean, if we look back into the season, at least in this first moment in time, we're going to remember two stretches, at least to me. They go to Milwaukee and Indianapolis, which was insane. I've still never seen this, speaking of the schedule, going that far for 2 games and turning around and coming back to San Francisco, which is crazy. But they dropped those 2 games they had no business losing. They were just kind of going through the motions, and they were bad down the stretch, especially in Indianapolis. They had that game. That team's got a bunch of injuries. So you look at that and you go, uh-oh, you know, what's going on with this team? And then after the Oklahoma City game, Draymond's calling out, I don't know if everybody wants to win the same way. And Steph is Steph. And he goes and does what y'all have seen forever and ever. And he's just incredible. And so when everything could have just completely toppled on itself, he goes out and has 49 and 46 and saves the day and stabilizes everything. But that schedule for them to be out of it, and now they have this stretch when they're at home. They have another couple longer trips, but they're not for a while. I think everybody internally within the organization is going to take a deep breath and say, okay, we made it through that. Let's start racking up some wins. And at least as we sit here before this stretch really gets going here, guys, I'd be surprised if they don't start winning a lot of these games. I think they're going to find a little bit of a rhythm, and they're really going to start rolling.
It's kind of where I was at with it. Like, obviously, it's frustrating watching them lose to less talented teams. Like, you mentioned Indiana. I could throw Orlando in there without Banchero. There's a couple of those, right? And Steph getting sick and they lose to Sac suck too. Like, there's a few things in there, but I've tried to take the broader view, which is like, end of the day, they got through it. Like, I'll actually be concerned if we still see this same type of 500 malaise basketball when the schedule gets better for them. Do you feel like that's kind of the like what everyone around the team feels? Because there was the Oklahoma City thing, like that was pretty pointed, and then to your point, they backed it up, which made it pretty cool, right? But other than that, it just feels like everyone's kind of been head down the entire time.
Yeah, I think, Sam, they're so glad that they're through this first break of the schedule. I think they sat there when that plane must have landed from Miami the other night and been like, whoo, okay, we got through it. Now, anybody who's been around the Warriors or followed them closely the last few years, they'll say, all right, well, that's great that they got through this tough part of the schedule, but the last couple seasons, they were just kind of going through the motions and giving away these games. And then when it came time standings wise, oh, look, we're right near the play-in. We've got to find our way into these games. We're playing these extra games that we have no business playing in. I understand that point. But where I'm hesitant to jump all over what they've done to this point is I say, let's see where they're at about a month from now. Because if they keep going through the motions and they're playing against these teams that they absolutely should beat and they're not doing it, then you start to worry a little bit. But, guys, this is where I caution anybody, especially with this specific team. And when I say that, I mean Steph, Jimmy, Draymond, to a lesser extent now Horford, but this older group. They were built for April, May, and hopefully, if you're a Warriors fan, into June. They just, to get them motivated to play in these games that, let's be real, just don't matter nearly as much, that is going to be a struggle all along. Now, I hear people say, all right, that's why you make $50 million a year for some of the guys on the roster. I understand. But if they're healthy going into March and April, I think that's just as crucial as anything else. So I see both viewpoints of it. But what I would tell you, at least right now towards the end of November, is let's see where things go towards the first of the year. I'd be surprised if they were still in that malaise that we're kind of talking about to start here.
And if you look at the schedule, they don't really have a back-to-back for a long, or at least they have. I think they're at home for the rest of the month and a large portion of January. They have one back-to-back. Our other guy Tommy was telling us, yeah, essentially one back-to-back here coming up for a while, and then the end of the season they have a bunch of back-to-backs cluttered together. But I think to what you guys are saying, they should be able to win a bunch of games in that time span. Looking at this schedule, so it is set up for them now. I mean, you look at this, it is having a day off between games feels like having 3 days off between games for this team right now.
They have insane. One back-to-back between now and Christmas, which is about a month out, that's
crazy.
What you're saying, Nick, and I think I agree with that logic. It's like we're talking about 12 or 13 games to Christmas, depending on the Emirates Cup or whatever they do that week there. That's not mentioned in here. Yeah, I mean, like they should, in theory, go like 8-4, 9-3 during that spell. The next thing you know, you're talking about a team that's 18-11 or something that looks like they're in good position.
A little more.
If they don't do that, then it's just like, man, they look like they're straight on their way to the play-in again.
That's a play. If they're 500, that's what they were last season. The last couple seasons, mm-hmm. It's pre-Jimmy was this. So what they're doing right now is what they were the last couple of seasons before they got Jimmy, which is you lose some beatable games. You're sitting here 9-8. You're like, well, we should be 11-6 if we beat Milwaukee and Indiana. But you're like, well, you didn't beat them. That's why you're 9-8. That's why you're a playing team. Which, if you look at too early for the standings, but if you look at the standings right now, they're a playing team. And so, but again, also if you look at the standings, they've played 4 more games than the Rockets. Right now the Lakers have 4 days off between playing the Utah Jazz. Right? They play the Jazz twice, and they have 4 days off. But look, I got that. I don't know. Whatever. The schedule does get easier. I'm sure it'll get harder for the Rockets and the Lakers. Whatever. But I think maybe it moves on to this point, right? And I'm sure you see it a lot on social media, and I'm really curious to see the sentiment around the locker room, because Sam mentioned it earlier, the Oklahoma City game, and they get a little crazy, and I'm curious because I think the record is 9-8, and you can argue maybe it should be better, but isn't the point of it to say if the vets are tired, maybe some of the young guys got to take up the slack, right? That felt like it was the big overarching point of what Draymond's and Jimmy's pointed comments were after OKC.
The point that they publicly denied after the fact, like, yeah, guys, got it, cool,
okay, yeah.
Oh, that wasn't aimed at anyone in particular, sure.
Yeah, okay.
There was a lot of tension, not just in that moment, guys, but I think before that first San Antonio game, everybody was kind of going, all right, how do they respond? And, Draymond has made it very clear he wasn't calling anybody out specifically. But when you start kind of reading the tea leaves, it's easy for everybody to point at Kuminga because of the summer. I can only speak for myself. I am so tired of the Kuminga discourse, and I've only been back.
You've come to the right place.
I've only been back for 2 months. I mean, I didn't live it for the last 3-4 years. I feel like when I left the first time, that was right when Kuminga had just kind of gotten into it again. I am so tired of the back and forth. It's like when Kuminga was playing great to start the year, everybody was like, hey, Kuminga's playing great. And then when he wasn't playing very well, everybody's like, hey, he's turning the ball over a lot. This doesn't look very good. And then it's just like, oh, my gosh, it's never going to stop. What I would say, and we can get into more of that if y'all want down the line, but I'd say everybody kind of focus on, is it Kuminga? I think the Podz things makes plenty of sense because Podz specifically says some stuff that not only gets aggregated and draws a lot of attention on social media, but I think people in the organization, guys, after some of that stuff, they were like, what in the, and I would say
We got White Ohtani.
Yeah, exactly. The White Ohtani. But trust me when I tell you that the White Ohtani thing got a lot of run internally. there was a lot of, oh man. Now, what I would say in defense of Podz, and I know that's not exactly a popular position given what I see again on social media day after day after day. Just for context, I talked to Podz that one day when we were talking about baseball, and then we were talking about how he wanted to earn the leadership that Steph and Draymond would ultimately go to Lacob and Dunleavy and say, hey, this guy knows what he's doing. We trust him. What I would say is the first part of that conversation, it started because I want to talk about Podz about being a Brewers fan. He's a gigantic Brewers fan. And at that point, they were kicking my Cubs' ass, and everybody thought that the Brewers were going to go and at least play Shohei and see what happened. We know how that turned out. But that morphed into, I didn't realize just how deep his love of baseball was and how much he had played. And he said the White Ohtani stuff, he was saying he could pitch and hit. Certainly. And I was sitting right next to him. I don't think he was saying I could be the White Ohtani. I think what he meant is that he could throw and he could hit.
It was more of like an Al Bundy comment where he's just talking about how good he was in high school type of thing.
I love that we've got an Al Bundy and Ohtani comparison now for the record. The second one, but let's go through these really fast because I know it seems like there's a lot of interest in fans' reactions to Podz. The second one was the Steph and Draymond thing. And that came in the context when I asked him, hey, what are your goals for this season? And he said, I want to win a championship. But his point was he wanted to build the trust so that those guys went to the front office and said, we believe in this guy. Guys, I'm sitting here, I'm telling you, I really think Draymond respected that. I think where Draymond was like, why is he saying it out loud? Why is he verbalizing it to the media and talking about it? And maybe Podz in his third year at 22, he's got to kind of find the balance there. But I don't think that was the one where people were like, oh my gosh, like what's happening here? Because that was about wanting to put in the work to earn that trust. The last one, that's where I think that people got kind of sideways on all of it. And that's where he was like, I want to be better than Steph. And let me give you some context to this one. So we're sitting at a press conference. I think it was still in the preseason. And I actually thought Podz gave a really good answer. And the answer he gave in part was, he said, I think a lot of people say they want to be as good as Steph Curry, but they don't want to put in the work that Steph Curry puts in to get to that point. Well, all right, I think that's a pretty good answer. And then somebody was sitting there, one of the reporters, and said, well, do you want to be as good as Steph Curry? Now, what he should have said in hindsight was, nobody's going to be Steph Curry. I'm going to work as hard as I can to be as good as I can
to
be that guy. Yeah. But what he said was, I want to be as good as Steph. Now, of course, that quote gets pushed all over the place, and now everybody goes, oh, Podz, what are you talking about? But I think that took way out of context the point he was trying to get across.
Nick, Warriors fans are like rabid dogs. All right,
absolutely.
You don't just say something and see, it's just attack. You know what I mean? Like you say something, it gets thrown. Yeah, I forgot.
I also think the current like social media infographic culture doesn't make favors.
It doesn't do anybody any favors. But I mean, guys, let's be real about all of this. Podz hasn't played very well.
Yeah.
And if Podz plays better, all this stuff, it just kind of will fall by the wayside. It's just not going to get built up to the level that it's gotten. If he plays better and they start doing better, everybody will go, oh, man, I love Podz. He's got the confidence. He's got that swagger about him. And the fact that he's not playing very well to start the year, it's like, okay, well, maybe you should try baseball or – maybe you should go talk to Steph. All this stuff. I see it all the time. I think that's the issue, though, and it ties into the Kuminga thing that we started talking about.
Right into it.
All Kuminga needs to do is play better.
That is the common thread. It is to all of this stuff. It is just, guys, it would just be so much easier if you guys were better. Like it really is that simple. But we need to talk about Kuminga. We won't do 30 minutes on it, I swear. But before, and we'll do more on Podz, because I actually do want to talk about Podz and what he needs to do to play better, which is interesting because he is a good player. Before we do that, Late Years Podcast, we are brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, you and I make decisions every day on Prize Picks. Being right will get you paid. Prize Picks, only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. This week's Andy Liu Prize Picks pick, the Niners play on Monday night. The Niners play. We're back. Offense is rolling. Yeah. I don't, weird game. Like they're playing the Panthers on Monday night.
They have a bunch of Sunday night and Monday night games over the next month. I guess no one planned on them having their entire defense lose their ACLs.
Hey, arguably, though, you can say the Niners are more entertaining now because they have to throw the ball. They have to score. So, every game is going to be a shootout, it feels like, which, back to my point, if you're going to stack a player on the Niners, you guys know what I'm going to say. There's only one player on the Niners that you can stack and will stack and should stack. Christian McCaffrey. Whatever the more is on the receptions, whatever the more is on the yards, reception and running, whatever the more is on the touchdowns, just go CMC, Matt. Plus, he's playing his whole team. Like, it's a revenge game. Although I feel like he's happy leaving Carolina, so maybe not a revenge game, but he's going to go crazy on Carolina, who has a terrible defense. Prize Picks, the only place where you can stack up a player on multiple times in the same lineup, 3 times in the same lineup. So easy. Download the app today. Use Light Years to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code Light Years to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right.
All right, guys, you know what I always say, look good, feel good, perform good. And what's the number one thing in making yourself feel good and look good? Obviously, it's underwear. Nothing has a bigger impact on your mood than a good pair of boxer briefs. Nothing worse than having the last pair of underwear in the drawer, the one that gives you kind of a wedgie, the one that puts you in a bad mood. Yeah, you end up getting grouchy. People are like, "What's wrong with you?" You can't admit what's wrong with you. The reality is you're on laundry day. You're in a bad mood because of that. And so, I was on the hunt for the right boxer briefs, and so that's where I found Skims. Guys, I kid you not, you will never find a more comfortable pair of boxer briefs. That perfect blend of structure and flexibility. You don't want it too loose. You don't want to be just, you don't want to be dangling all over the place, but you also don't want it too tight so that you feel constricted. You want that perfect balance. That's where Skims comes through. Guys, shop Skims Men's at skims.com. And if you're looking for the perfect holiday gifts for the whole family, Skims just launched their biggest holiday shop ever. Also available at skims.com. Let them know we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu. All right, we are back. All right, let's get back onto the young players real quick. You're kind of getting it started there. For the record, my thought with the statement that Jimmy and Draymond made, I thought it was aimed at all the young guys. That's kind of how I viewed it. I think it may have been aimed at Podz and Kuminga more, but I think it was aimed at everyone. I think they kind of no-showed effort-wise against OKC, and that's kind of where it was. But let's talk about those two, because I feel like they are – would you agree with this statement? They are the 2 players who are going to define this team's ceiling the most.
About 1,000%.
And that could be them taking a leap or them as trade chips. But as we look at the Warriors right now, those are the 2 swing pieces on the team. And I think through the first month, Podz has been disappointing relative to how he finished last year. It certainly hasn't taken a step. He actually kind of looks worse than he looked in the second half of last year. And Kuminga, it's kind of the same thing it's been the last 2 years. Good game, bad game. Awkward fit, good game, bad game. Where are you at with these guys, Nick?
If it were me, guys, and I were Dunleavy in that front office, I would probably lean towards trading Kuminga whenever the time comes. I think it's January 15th, and the reason I know that is because every single Warriors tweet that I feel like I see as it pertains to Kuminga is January 15th, January 15th.
Yep.
Where I would caution, I think it's good for us to have this conversation, not only about those two guys, but about this team in general. What would scare me is I think that there are plenty of teams that look at Kuminga. I know we hear about the Kings, which makes me laugh every time because the Kings are run and have been so poorly for so many years. But it's not to say there's no interest. I think there's certainly interest. It's just that what would worry me if I were Dunleavy is what are you getting back in return for whomever that you were to move away, whether it's Kuminga or it's Podziemski or Moody, we know the names, that's going to make you that much better right now. Because I think we all agree you're not making those moves for, all right, well, let me get some picks 4 or 5 years from now. You're making those moves because you still –
Joe might be.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a completely different story. But I think that this team legitimately, and people will kind of roll their eyes on this too, but they legitimately believe they still have a chance this year. And guys, truly, I think they do too, just because of Steph. When you have that dude still playing like this, I think you have a chance. I don't think they would win in a series against OKC. I don't think they would beat Joker and the Nuggets. But we know what happens in the playoffs. Somebody gets hurt, it changes the whole balance of everything. So I think that they have that chance, even if a lot of people feel like it's a mirage. What is concerning, though, and this goes back to Kuminga, is what we've seen in the first month is pretty much the exact same stuff that we've seen all along. There are nights when you look at what he's doing and you go, oh, yeah, I see it. Like this guy can be somebody that we can build around, and he can really help this group now. And guys, Jimmy and Draymond and Steph and Kerr in the last couple months have gone out of their way and saying, we believe in him. We think he can be really helpful for us for years to come. And then he plays the way he did before he got hurt, and you go, uh-oh, what's going on? So I say all of that to say, if it's me and I'm Dunleavy, I'm looking at all the possibilities that are out there, and I'm saying, this just does not work for us now. I don't know if it works for us in the future, and maybe it is just time. But as is the case in the NBA, and I certainly have learned this through covering all these different teams around the league, we can all sit there and say, okay, the best thing for the Warriors to do is trade Kuminga in this instance. But what are you getting back in return? And that's the part that we just don't know yet as we look forward to what may happen a couple months from now.
If they want to get something of value in return, it's not getting paid. They have to put picks in, and that to me is even a bigger. That question is just as big as whether they want to trade Kuminga. I do think they do, but it's like, if you actually want to get back, do you want to put a pick in? Do you want to put 2? If you really want to get, do you want to put 3? And if you want to put 3 picks in, then what type of player are you really getting back? And I don't know. I'm asking you, like, do you have feels like I don't know, but like, would they really look at doing that? That doesn't seem like that's the case, and that's probably the easiest way to get better fast.
I think that anything is on the table looking ahead, Andy, because if you have Steph and you still feel like you have that one chance, then maybe that is a move to make. I mean, 3 picks seems like a ton, but I see your point. If you really want to get somebody who's going to help right away, that's probably what it would take.
Yeah.
What is concerning, and I mean, I don't have to tell you guys, that's what's so cool. That I mean, you've lived this longer than I have, but what it reminds me of is like the Bradley Beal stuff from years ago. Oh, man, if they could just get Bradley Beal.
I remember that.
If they could just get that one missing piece, then everything else lines up. I don't know what that piece is, though. What I would say to anybody who says, no, we can't trade Kuminga. Kuminga's got to be part of the core. He's going to be here long after Steph and Draymond retire. What I'd say is, okay, well, where are you right now with a healthy Kuminga when he's out there? Do you feel like you're that close to a championship? Because for as much as he can still improve, and nobody is writing him off, I would just say, when we're talking about it, I don't think he fits in the framework of this group. I think that has been made very clear through time. I'd be happy to come on with you guys at the end of the year and say, hey, I was wrong. Everything changed. I just feel like we're headed the same direction.
We won't be wrong. You won't
as we've been going for years.
5 years. Yeah. 5 fucking seasons of the same thing.
Well, it's just the Jimmy trade, like, really kind of put a nail in the coffin for him ever fitting with this team, just because their skill sets are so, like, duplicitous and they want to operate in the same spots on the court. Only Jimmy's just a lot better at it than him right now. Like, what they actually need is, like, the young version of Klay Thompson, which will never be Kuminga. That's not his skill set. That's not his game. Even if he wanted to, he's not going to turn into that level of shooter. And so that's like the other part of it, where it's like you made this trade, you go all in with Jimmy next to Steph. He's a nice prospect. Like, he's not an obvious, like, this guy's the future of the franchise, but he's also not a bum, you know? He needs to be flipped for a player who fits what they want to do. I want to get back to what you said a minute ago. Do you actually buy that they're all in on Kuminga as players? Because to me, everything they're doing with the public statements, it feels like a marriage of convenience. It feels like, look, we're not moving him for 40 more games no matter what. And it's in our best interest to try to make it work. And if it works, that's great. That's even better. It's even better if it works. Then we don't have to make a trade. And, you know, if it doesn't work, oh, well, we're at where we thought we were going to be in January anyway, right?
Sam, I think the best way to answer that question, and I say this as somebody who has kind of watched it day to day for 2 months, and I certainly can't speak to what's gone on the last couple of years. I wasn't here. What I would say, though, is they view Kuminga as a 23-year-old young player who desperately needs the confidence day in and day out. He needs everybody to feel like they're behind him, for them to tell him, hey, we believe in you. We believe that you can be a difference maker for this team. We believe that you can help us win right now. So I absolutely think that Jimmy, having gone through what he's gone through in his own career, kind of sees Kuminga at 23 years old and says, hey, I can help you. I can offer some advice. With Steph and Draymond, they've lived it a little bit longer with him, and they've seen the highs and the lows through the years. But I think everybody is in agreement on this. Kuminga has to know that they are behind him. And if he doesn't feel like that, it's just going to completely go the opposite direction. And that's what makes all this in the last couple of years, or excuse me, the last couple of months so interesting, because in the beginning of the season, it was like, oh my gosh, this can work. like this can be what we need it to be. And then a couple weeks before he got hurt, it faded really fast. So do they really believe that he can do it? I think it's an interesting question, and I think the best way to answer it is let's see what happens prior to January 15th. Let's see how the next 6 weeks or so plays out. But there is absolutely a feeling behind the scenes that we need to pump this young guy up as much as we can. And if we do that, we're going to get the best version of whatever he may be down the line.
I was just going to say the pump and dump. I don't think that's what Nick was referring to, but I will twist it another way. They do want to ensure that the trade value of a player like Kuminga doesn't go through. Like they just right now he's hurt, and he's been hurt for almost a week and a half, 2 weeks now, almost. Early next week would be 2 weeks, and it was reported by our guy Slater that hey, they thought it was, you know, not a big deal. And it's like, dude, yeah, for 2 weeks, kind of a fucking big deal. Like I'm not a doctor, but he's not playing. And there are games right now, like he should be playing against Portland. That's an easy way for him to go against a team that you know isn't very good.
Those are the matchups you envision him having a more pronounced role in.
He has to be playing. And so they also can't bench him. Steve put him on the bench, but they can't bench him because then really, what are you going to get? Now you're going to have to put 5 picks in to get a player just to get off that contract. Now it's a negative asset. So they do have to thread the needle. But I do think the problem, Nick, with what you're saying, with what the players feel like, outside of the fact that they have to make sure this whole asset thing works out, is that it feels like they're doing all this stuff. And really, what is the end result? What is the best case scenario of this working? I don't like if all this works out, is Kuminga going to become Giannis? Because I'll tell you right now, it's worth it. Go get in line, Steph. Jimmy, go do whatever you need to do. Give him your whole wine cellar if you have to. I don't know, man. Like, figure it out. You know what I mean? But like, we've seen it. Like, guys, this is 4+ seasons. If they do figure it out, he's fine. He's a fine player. Sam kind of like he's Jeremy Grant, man. Like, okay, fine. You're gonna make a shit ton of money. Kuminga's gonna be very rich, and he's gonna be, I'm sure, very happy with his NBA career when it's over. But you're doing all this, and it's a fine player. It's not a special player. And that's kind of where they're at with that. So it's a lot of effort for, I think the ROI is not worth and I feel like they know that. I do think maybe not Jimmy because he's new, but I do think Steph and Draymond, like, they're not idiots. I do think they're kind of sitting there and saying, all right, we just got to get through this. You know, we got to make sure we get to January and February and he's still, you know, mentally there with us at least, so we can flip it. That's
Andy, I think it's a really fair point. What I would say is, I can just tell you from my own perspective, the thing that always concerned me when I watched him the last couple of years, even watching him the last few weeks before he got hurt, was I kept thinking, at the highest level, in the best case scenario,
yep,
what kind of player is he? And that's where Sam was asking me earlier, okay, you know, what do you do? Like, what do you do a couple months from now? I would say, if it's me and the body of work is what it is, I run the risk that Jonathan Kuminga turns into an all-star and becomes a really good player somewhere else. Because from what I've seen, I just don't believe that it's going to be that much different. And that's where all of this really, it's going to come down to Dunleavy and that staff having a real heart-to-heart with all involved, because everybody may really like him, and I think that's genuine. I think they do like him. I think they like who he is, that they know he puts in work, all of that. It's all well and good. What is the end game here? And I think it is a really fair question to ask given what we've seen. And I can only speak from what I've seen and talking to enough people, not only around the league, but watching the interactions day to day. I think Kuminga can be a really nice NBA player. I just don't think he's ever going to be the type of difference maker on this team within the framework of this group that is going to be the game changer that he wants or that they need.
It's the Clippers traded, and right now it's going around because the Clippers are going to hit the lottery, and that pick's going straight to OKC. And it's like, well, you guys traded Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for whatever, right? The whole host of picks, and now the Thunder, I mean, they might win 10 more championships because of that. And SGA is going to be one of the greatest players of all time. I think Joe might go sit there with a straight face and tell you, like, hey, man, we don't want to make that mistake too. And it's like,
yeah, that's bullshit, because Shai was a starter on a playoff team as a rookie, and he was legitimately good. Now, I don't think anyone who saw the Clippers version of Shai thought he would become this, but he was – they didn't start him because he was a rookie. They started him because he outplayed a bunch of veterans, and he forced his way in. And that I was at that playoff game where they came back 35 points on the Warriors in 2019. Like, he was a good player as a 19-year-old. It's not the same thing. But I do agree with you. I do think Joe probably does think like that, though. I do think he's like, I don't want to make that mistake.
Yeah. And this is, Andy, I would give you credit in this regard, though. I see you tweet it all the time. It's the 5th year. And it's not to say that somebody can't make another jump or leap at 23 years old. I mean, nobody's putting a ceiling on whatever type of player Kuminga can be. But in year 5, you're looking at a player usually and you're going, oh, okay, like, I see where this is headed. And this is where I think there's so much, not just frustration within the fan base from what I can see, but again, I can only speak for myself personally. I'm just so tired of the back and forth because you sit there and you watch early on and you're like, okay, he's playing great. And then he doesn't play great. And then the second he doesn't play great, it turns into, all right, well, what's going to happen moving forward here? So there are always different layers, but I think when you watch
he doesn't play great, we're going to Shams, baby. We're getting maybe you next. Maybe you.
Yeah, it's just if you play better for younger players, everything else takes care of itself.
It feels like, you date a girl, right? And you're like, you're having the same argument. You know what I mean? They're telling you to put the toilet seat down, and you're just like, this is the 25th time. Bro, it's not going to change, dude. You're not, you know what I mean? Like, stop coming home drunk. Hey, this is the 15th time we've had this argument. It's not going to change, dude. I'm not going to wake up one day and fucking, that's it. We can't keep doing this month after month. So I just, it just feels like that, where it's he's good. He's not James Wiseman. Like, that's the thing. It's not this team. Like, this team cut the losses on James Wiseman, and honestly, you can argue that was less painful, because it's like, at least Wiseman was not good, and he was not good immediately. But like with Kuminga, it's like, he's good, but it's like, now you kind of can't cut. You're like just stuck. You can't cut your losses. You're stuck. And that's where they are. But at the end of the day, it's like they all got to play better. It's like Sam puts out all the numbers, right? It's like Kuminga plays the most with Steph, and Steph still isn't, and the numbers, on and off numbers, still aren't great, right? End of the day, I'm looking at all these numbers, and so it's like, oh, do you play him more with Jimmy? Do you do this? Do you do that? It's like, bro, can you just be good with whoever you play with? Can that be the case? Do you have to play with Jimmy, Steph, who's a top 10 player of all time, and Jimmy, who's also amazing? Like, can you just be good? Can you just carry a bench lineup? Like, Podz, as much as we like to make fun of him, Podz is a plus in the majority of lineups. That he's a plus player, even though he
knows how to play off of guys. He knows how to play off of it.
It's the connector part that Kerr keeps saying. And Andy, to your point, that's not something we're used to hearing as much with Kuminga. We heard it a little bit early in the season, but it's not like everybody's going, oh man, he makes everybody out there much better, and he knows where to go with all of it. It's a fascinating conversation, but again, just for me, I am worn out already.
You're almost there. You're almost there
on all of it.
Let's take it a different direction. I don't really want to do fake trades. It's just futile right now, because you don't even know who's available. But all right, let's just say you're looking at this roster, Nick. What are you viewing as their biggest holes, like basketball wise, and what type of player would you actually want to add to it? So irrespective of it, who it is or if they're available, like, what are you looking at? Like, man, they really need a big or a ball handler or something like that.
There's two things that come to mind. First, the thing that really scares me was the part that I thought they had filled, at least to a point, guys. And it's a name we haven't brought up much so far, but it's Horford. He's just really struggling. He looks really old out there on the floor. You'd hope that once he starts to play more consistently, because we mentioned the 5 back-to-backs, he's not playing on back-to-backs anymore. Once he starts playing more, maybe the rust that we're seeing shakes off. But the other problem is, maybe it's not just rust. Maybe he's 39 years old, and that's what the problem is. But, it is funny. We're talking about all these different issues and what's going on with the group. The name that I think would fit, and I realize that I'm laughing knowing who I'm talking to, but the guy who I think would fit on this team is Kevin. I think if you plugged Kevin into what they had and what they need, it gives them the offensive punch that they're going to be lacking. Because what do we keep seeing? If Steph doesn't have it absolutely rolling, or if Jimmy isn't controlling the tempo and the pace and everything that Kerr keeps talking about after these games with getting to the line, Kevin would come in and he can at least still create his own shot, and he can make things happen offensively. I'm not saying he's an end-all, be-all, because, again, let's be real clear. I don't think they're beating OKC. I don't think they're beating Denver. Who knows what happens after 3 and down.
Right.
But they need some more offense, and I just don't see where it's going to come from so far. And it ties into, we've come full circle, but it ties into, you wanted the Kumingas and the Podz and the Moody's to take some kind of a leap, and we have not seen that so far yet this year.
Kevin's living the dream right now. He is living the
no back-to-backs, just winning games in Houston. Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, have you watched Houston play? He actually doesn't do this is not slander, but like he doesn't actually have to do anything until crunch time, which is their biggest problem because they cannot get a bucket in crunch time. They just give it to KD, and
he gets to kind of DH. It's nice. You can just hang out there and then hit shots.
Well, and if anybody you would trust late in the game to be like, hey,
Sure.
I know somebody who can handle this situation.
Yeah.
I mean, guys. I love that we're all sitting here finally having this talk, the three of us. But like, people just laugh and Kevin, he's just tweeting. That dude is still damn good. I know he's advanced in age, and people laugh at some of the stuff off the floor. Fine. The dude can still play at an incredibly high level, and it's why he's one of the greatest scorers we've ever seen.
It blows my mind because not KD, but the other day I was thinking about this, and I'm looking at James Harden go 40-10-10. I'm just sitting there, I'm like, Steph, I get people talk about him all day. LeBron, people talk about him all day. KD is a little more underrated. Like, people don't really talk about his game. They just kind of make fun of him. James Harden playing on a lottery team right now, if it wasn't for him, they might be winless. Like, the Thunder would actually be in the driver's seat to have whatever the number 1 pick is. But it is amazing. These dudes are like in their upper 30s, and they look phenomenal. Phenomenal.
And it's like with James, there's no pressure because that's so like have the ball, just start flinging shots up. See,
live in LA. I mean, come on.
Exactly. You live in LA and you play for the team that really nobody cares about. So
what a dream.
There's just no pressure, and you're making a ton of money. But to your point, there's a reason those guys are who they are, and there's a reason they're all going to the Hall of Fame. But as far as this Warriors team goes, you can only be so reliant on Steph every night. And Steph is Steph. He's incredible. Again, personally, it's one of the reasons I took the job to come back, because you're watching somebody who's still at the peak of his powers all the time. But when you're looking at these other flaws in the roster, what you're looking at is a team that needs some more shot creators and guys that can really get rolling, and they just don't have a lot of that right now.
Can we interest you in a Malik Monk?
I think
pretty sure that's still gonna. I'm pretty sure it's still gonna be on the table in January. If you want it.
I think he could help. I don't know how much of a difference it will make, but sure, worth the conversation.
Golly, that's where the Warriors are at. I mean, honestly, that might be the best they can get if they don't want to put in picks or anything like that.
Well, if they don't want to put in picks, that is the best they can get. If they're willing to, and that's kind of the overarching issue. Can't give up the picks, because what if Giannis comes available? But that is actually my biggest frustration. They've been chasing the Giannis thing since pre-pandemic. And it's like it's way too long. Let it go. She's not breaking up with her boyfriend. She's not coming.
Yeah. No. Wow. That hurts. Yeah. It's just stop liking her IG story, dude. It's not It's not. Let it go, dude. It's not happening. Go get Ryan Rollins instead, maybe.
He would actually really help them based on what I'm seeing. That's like the ultimate irony. The guy they threw in a dump who looked like, I don't know, he looked like he's 5 years away from being a contributor to the NBA, is randomly exactly what they were praying Kuminga and Podz would be at this point. Which is,
I kind of can't blame him for that one, though, because I mean, like, I don't know. What are you supposed to do? You know what I mean? He was a late second. I didn't even understand
why they drafted him. It's like, you didn't need a 7th project on the roster.
Yeah.
Shout out Kirk. Good scouting.
And I thought he was out of the league because he was stealing stuff, which is like, dude, you're an NBA player and you're stealing stuff at Target. Like, I just like, what is going on? And then now all of a sudden he shows up and he's
bar deodorant. It's not that big a deal.
Is that really
an embarrassing story?
Is that really what he stole? He really stole deodorant.
Or body wash, some Old Spice products, something like that.
And now he's just
what a turnaround. Now he's like the best point guard Giannis has played with in 3 years.
Oh, whoa.
I don't know. Do you want to end it here? We got anything else we want to get to? I think we end it here. Nick, we appreciate your time. You're always welcome on.
Guys, I enjoyed the hell out of it. Keep rolling. And when things go bad, and I'm sure it'll happen again at some point, everybody will lose their mind. Truly just remember that it could be so much worse, because you could be watching a team that didn't have Steph.
Yeah.
So
I got a bunch of buddies who are Kings fans who live up there. I know it could be worse.
Yeah,
I know it could be worse. I talk to them on the regular.
it could be way, way worse. And, you know, I know there are so many diehard, loyal Warriors fans out there. You have to understand, and I think having been away for all these years, now coming back into this, the idea that you get to see that dude and anything can happen night to night still, and that San Antonio trip was a perfect reminder. This may not be anywhere close to a title team. Who knows what the hell is going to happen in 6 months? The fact that that dude is still out there still makes it a hell of a lot better than a lot of situations.
Yeah. That's a good way to end it.
That's a fact. I mean, it is nice to just like always look forward to a Warriors game. Like Steph's there. Don't know what's going to happen. He might just hit the most insane shot I've ever seen in Wembanyama's face. Like, I don't know. Andy, you're a San Francisco Giants fan. You're a Giants fan. It's like, do you have that type of energy when you watch the team?
What are we doing?
Well, I don't even have a team. My team just disappeared.
Yeah, it's just
that's even worse.
Giants are signing some guys this offseason. You know what I mean?
I'm sure they are.
Nick, you're a Chicago guy. You're a Bulls guy. But the Bulls are fun. At least the Bulls are. I watch a lot of Bulls games. Just I don't know why. Every game's close. I watch it. I'm not a big Josh Giddey.
You might have to apologize for that one because he's looking very good.
Yeah.
I am decidedly not a Bulls guy. I am a Cubs fan because my grandma's whole family grew up in Chicago, and I watched Harry Carey on WGN all those years after school. The team I grew up rooting for, though, is actually the Magic, because when my family moved there and I was 5-6 years old, that's when
Shaq and Penny.
So I had Shaq and Penny growing up. So it's my fandom is long since gone doing this job for as long as I have. But the Magic and that team, there was such a cool energy around that group because they were brand new and nobody really knew much about the game down there. And so to see the way they grew, and then it just died one day because Shaq left. So I say all that to say when you have Steph, and
that's a good point.
At year 17, and you still get to come out to Chase and see it, embrace it every time that it happens.
Those Magic team I think we're relatively the same age, Nick. Every kid had like a Penny jersey. Like I'm trying to think of what the comp is now, maybe like Anthony Edwards or like some of these young stars. Like, and you know how kids aren't as loyal to the team. They were the coolest team ever during that period. Yeah. Appreciate you, Nick.
Guys, thanks for having me on.
Light Years Podcast, we are brought to you by our friends at Z-Biotics. I have to tell you about this game-changing product I use before a night out with drinks. It's called pre-alcohol. Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. And here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's a buildup of this byproduct, not dehydration. That's to blame for rough days after drinking. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break down this byproduct. Just remember to take pre-alcohol and make it your first drink of the night. Drink responsibility, and you will feel your best tomorrow. Every time I have pre-alcohol before drinks, I notice difference the next day. Even after a night out, I can wake up, I can hit the gym, I can wake up to my kid and not be going crazy when he's crying, right? So fall is here. Means it's time to enjoy cooler weather, some drinks out with your buddies. Go to zbiotics.com/lightyears to learn more. Get 15% off your first order when you use Lightyears at checkout. Z-Biotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/lightyears. Use the code Lightyears at checkout for 15% off.